Hey, everybody. So nice to see all your warm and smiling faces out there. Thank you for joining me. Another one of these chat sessions. So I usually begin with some trivial nonsense to allow more people to file in. So what have I been doing? I don't know. I've been painting. Yeah, I've been doing some painting lately. I painted my first painting in, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, something like that. I'd show it to you, but I don't think it would be in line with the terms of service of YouTube. Yeah, leave it to me. I knew that any attempt I should have known anyway, that any attempt I was going to make at art was going to quickly devolve into outright pornography. So you'll just have to use your imaginations. This is the first time I've done. I feel a little bit weird because usually when I do these streams, my wife is sitting in the chair over there that you can't see. This time she's not. So, I'm going to take advantage of that by doing what I think every man should do, at least on occasion. Even if you're not a smoker, I think every man, not necessarily every woman now, because there's some things that belong to the realm of men, and this is one. I think every man should smoke a cigarette in his own damn house. And every man should get his ass kicked by his wife later for doing so. But I'm doing it. It's time to not be a simp. It's time to not be a cuck. It's time to smoke indoors like a man from a fucking 1950s movie. That's what we're doing. Let's see how many motherfuckers we got in here. 854. That's not too bad. Oh, 868. That's good. That's even better. So, STREAMLABS and Super Chats are open, as usual, and as usual, I will read them at the end after I am done making my sort of prepared remarks. I shouldn't say prepared remarks so much as maybe like semi-prepared remarks, I guess, would be a better way to phrase that. That indoor cigarette, man. Isn't it beautiful? Oh, yeah, it is. So, I know that I have a pretty good mix of political people in my audience, because I've been doing all kinds of content for so many years. Obviously, lately I've been focusing on, left politics. Now, I'm probably going to give it a rest for a while. I do have some stuff coming up that I shot in the last Abandoned Hope, but I'd like to kind of maybe get away from politics for a minute, focus on some other things. Especially since I don't really feel like I have much more to say with the current state of affairs, but I did have a few more things that I wanted to add, and I could be totally mistaken about this. I could be doing another political stream next week, but the point of this ramble is that I got people from all over the political spectrum in my audience. I got centrists, I've got liberals, I got leftists, I got right-wing people, I got far right-wing people. They're all there, they're all represented. They all have an opinion. They all have a voice. That's great. I'm down for it. So I wanted today to do something nice for both the right-wingers in my audience and the left-wingers in my audience. Because if you're a right-winger, here, I just want to talk about some of the stuff that you guys do right that the left does wrong. Things that the right wing adopts that the left wing probably should get behind. Not in terms of policy, of course. No, but in terms of strategy, there's some things that the right wing is just plain goddamn better at. So I want to give props to the right wingers for getting it right on these things. And I also want to help the left wingers out by giving them some helpful tips from the opposition. Some things that maybe they're not super, tuned in to see because, they just want to, fucking right wingers. Everything they do is bad and wrong. Maybe you don't like their policies, nor do I. But some of the things they do strategically is absolutely fucking right, and some pages that we could take out of their playbook. And I have here a list of how many things? I think I have 4. God damn it, this paper sucks. They stick together like crazy. Damn it! I can't be defeated by a piece of paper. Here we go. All right, there's 4. 4 things, each with its own little subcategories. So this is a list, once again, of 4 things that right-wingers get, that right-wingers understand, that left-wingers don't. So the first thing is, You have to work within the system and outside the system. You know what I mean? Because I think that a lot of times on the left, there's like this just like, we reject the system and everything about it. Fuck the system. I will not participate in a corrupt system. Because they, you know, it like makes them feel good. It's like, I resisted. Well, you know, you resisting doesn't really have much of a real world impact. The system just kind of chugs right on along without you. It doesn't really need your consent, assent, whatever. It just kind of does what it does. And you not being there to let your voice be heard, that's nothing but a fucking relief for the establishment. You realize that, right? Well, I mean, of course you don't. I mean, well, maybe some of you do. So I wanted to talk about some of the examples here of where, like, how the right wing gets this. So first of all, let's talk about the Tea Party. Anyone remember the Tea Party? You know, the big conservative populist movement that kind of sprung up around, you know, I guess it existed technically before the Obama years, but during the Obama years, it got wildly popular. And they had an agenda that, you know, they had a sort of front-facing agenda, and then they had kind of a, like, here's our real agenda. Their front-facing agenda was, you know, we need to do something about immigration, and we feel like we're being taxed too much and all this stuff. That was kind of the front-facing agenda. The real agenda, though, was we need to get all these fucking entrenched establishment Republicans out of office and replace them with right-wing populists. And really, you can kind of see the lineage of that going to all the way to, you know, Donald Trump. So that was a fucking big deal. Whereas, like, you know, on the left, you know, you got like a few token people in there. You know, I don't want to say token, I guess, but you got a few like lefties in you know, power, like, you know, AOC and Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and Bernie Sanders and so on and so forth. But, like, really, that's the fucking total exception of the rule. That's not, like, this big, powerful fucking voting block. That's like, hey, we got a big, strong social media presence, you know, but not a whole lot of actual power. So that's something the Republicans, you know, the right, I don't want to say Republicans necessarily, the right wing, that's something they did a lot better. When they decided, hey, we're going to have a fucking populist uprising and replace all of these entrenched sort of establishment Republicans with our own variety of Republicans who are more in line with our agenda, they fucking did it. They created that voting. They got the votes out there. They fucking swept into power, and they changed the face of the Republican Party, changed what it was about, made it more into what, you know, they'd heard on Rush Limbaugh and shit. No more of this, like, well, I am a respectable person kind of shit. And now it was just like, you know, fuck them immigrants. They got that guy in there. All those guys. So that's a great thing. Another thing they've done really successfully is, you know, whatever their beliefs might be, they've all rallied around Trump. It doesn't matter. It, like, even if they have major political disagreements with Trump, you'd never fucking know about it because they just... They fucking congeal around the leader. You know what I mean? Now, of course, for the, you know, the person the Democrats are putting up right now, Joe Biden, not a lot of people are really going to be too inspired to, you know, congeal, so to speak, around that. They're not going to galvanize around Biden. So that kind of brings me to the next point, which is they don't fall for the electability argument. Right-wingers don't buy that bullshit. You cannot tell, like, they're just like, you don't tell me what to do, motherfucker. I'll vote for whoever I want. I'll decide what the fuck electable is. So, like, we've already talked about this before on the show, but, you know, poll after poll in all of these Democratic primaries and caucuses showed a huge and overwhelming majority of support for the policy positions of Bernie Sanders. But tons of people who issue for issue agree with Bernie Sanders, and, you know, over 60% majority, I think, in every state. Or if it wasn't 60, it was like high 50s to low 60s support for Medicare for all in every Democratic primary when you fucking exit polled the voters. And yet they didn't vote for Bernie Sanders. They voted for Joe Biden. And the big reason why, when you look at this, the very same polling data, is because the mainstream media was making an argument that Biden was more electable, and the Democratic voters bought into that argument. So even if they thought, yeah, Bernie's policy positions are better, and I do agree with him that these kind of changes need to happen, but, you know, the most important thing's beating Trump, and we got to fucking put Biden in there because he's the more electable, which, in my opinion, of course, and I've laid out the reasons why ad nauseum in previous streams, in my opinion, Joe Biden is not fucking electable. He's one of the weakest candidates I've ever seen. I often compare him to Bob Dole, the guy who went up against Clinton back in 1996. If you need a refresher on who Bob Dole is, or you're too young to know who Bob Dole is, just go look him up sometime. Just go type into YouTube Bob Dole, look at the motherfucker, and realize, like, wow, the Republicans really put this guy up to try to beat Clinton, one of the smoothest operators in fucking politics. Oh my God, how embarrassing. So that's some of the stuff they do within the system. And when I say the system, I'm not talking about, you know, all of every system. I'm talking about the electoral system. The thing that so many leftists are like, I refuse to participate because I am too pure. The Republicans, the Republicans and the right-wingers, they do participate, and guess what? They get their fucking way. More often than not, they're getting their fucking way because they actually fucking participate in the electoral politics of their party, and they don't fall for this electability bullshit argument. Because that was that argument was made against Trump. So many times. The mainstream media, the conservative media, whatever, they all told us Trump is not electable. He just can't win. It would be a major mistake for the voters of the Republican Party to nominate this oafish goon. But they did. They ignored all of that fucking white noise, and they did it, and he won. So don't fall for that bullshit. Next time the media tries to push electability at you, just say, bullshit. We've heard this tune before, and look where it got us. You know, you want another example? John Kerry. He was picked over Howard Dean back in 2004 because he was more electable. Oh no, Howard Dean, yeah, he's a lot of popular energy behind him, but you know, he can't really win. He's too out there, he's too crazy, he's too angry, he gets upset too easily. You know, he did the sound, yee, or whatever the fuck his noise was. They played that clip 9,000 times a day of him going, woo, or yee, or whatever the fuck noise he made. And, you know, the electorate's just like, oh, well, I guess we can't vote for him. He's not electable, TM. So they voted for John Kerry. John Kerry went up against Bush, who was massively unpopular, who the conventional wisdom was, there's no way Bush can win re-election. And then Bush won re-election, and it wasn't even fucking much of a contest. John Kerry went down in flames. So, you know, yet another example, the electability argument fucking failing. Because, guess what? Who the mainstream media wants and who's actually has the popular support of the people, those two things are pretty much never the goddamn same, because the mainstream media has its agenda and the people have their agenda, and those two agendas, by and large, are not the fucking same. So don't fall for the fucking electability goddamn argument. You fell for it this time. You fell for it with John Kerry. Don't fall for it. Republicans don't fall for it. Right-wingers don't fall for it. They said, fuck that shit. We want Trump. And they got him. So what do they do outside the system? So one thing they do that gives them a major advantage is they form a lot of strong communities. And I'm not talking like, you know, a bunch of people on Twitter like, man, we got this hashtag trending. I mean, that's all well and good. That's something. But I'm talking about real life communities. I'm talking about a bunch of people physically being in the same place, looking each other in the eye, shaking hands, you know, waggling dicks, whatever the fuck people do. I don't know. I personally don't associate with other human beings, but that's the problem. That's a fucking problem. You know, there has to be that IRL shit. There has to be, I'm actually a physical person here to confront you. Because if there's not that, then it's just words on a screen or images on a screen. And there's a level of detachment, and there's a level of, You know, I don't give a fuck what you have to say because it's not like you can punch me in the face. But in real life, yeah, it kind of is like you could punch me in the face or I can punch you in the face. So there has to be a little bit more respect, right? Right. So another thing that I really noticed that right-wingers do a lot better on is think tanks. You know, we don't think a lot about think tanks, ironically, but, you know, a lot of the policies and shit that politicians put forth have their genesis in think tanks. Like, it's kind of well-known, it's kind of a well-known leftist talking point that Obama's Affordable Care Act actually came from a right-wing think tank called the Heritage Foundation. The first person to actually put a plan like that into action was Mitt Romney. Which is odd because that's who they decided to run against Obama. What? So it's really fucking bizarre. But there's so many of these think tanks are super influential. What it is, it's a group of intellectuals of a particular political bent who get together and do studies that can further the agenda of whatever, sort of political ideology they have. And they put out the studies, they give them to the politicians put them into law, they can give recommendations. You know, there's a lot of super powerful right-wing think tanks, there's a lot of super powerful left-wing, there's not a lot of super powerful left-wing think tanks, there's a lot of super powerful liberal think tanks, there's a lot of super powerful centrist think tanks, there's even a few sort of powerful libertarian think tanks, but there's really not very many progressive or left-leaning think tanks. Like, a lot of what you get is like stuff like the Brookings Institute and stuff like that, who has some measure of influence. I think that the Brookings Institute is actually cited in like the news more than any other think tank. But, if you actually look at their policies and their politics, I guess you could say that they're lightly progressive. But, they're probably to the right of most of the people online that I would think of as being left-wingers. And there's not a lot of left-wing think tanks out there. So that's something that should be remedied. I don't know how. I have no capability to do that. I don't know if anyone watching this has any capability to do that. But it's definitely something that should happen. Like, this is, it's basically nothing at this point, which is fucking insane. And once again, you see that these super chats coming up on the screen. Anybody can contribute a super chat or Streamlab at any time, but they're not going to be read till the end. That's just how it works. So stick around for the end. After I'm done with everything I have on these pages, that's when we get to that stuff. So just, sit back, stay tuned, keep them coming in. They all will be addressed, after I've finished this. So another thing, and I brought this up before, is media funding, specifically alternative media funding. I'm not talking about the Fox Newses and the MSNBCs and stuff like that. What I'm talking about is this new wave of media. So the right wing, they're really good about funding these creators, like Ben Shapiro, for instance. Ben Shapiro, right-wing commentator, posts videos here on YouTube. He is the editor-in-chief of the Daily Wire, which is who he publishes his videos through also, I believe. The Daily Wire is owned by Forward Publishing, LLC. Okay? So we got a chain here. Ben Shapiro, editor-in-chief of the Daily Wire, publishes his videos through the Daily Wire. Daily Wire is owned by Forward Publishing, LLC. Forward Publishing, LLC is owned by a couple of guys known as the Wilkes Brothers. And the Wilkes Brothers are two fracking billionaires who are also, far-right Christian fundamentalist types. And they also, by the way, fund PragerU. So you've got these billionaires. Like, isn't that interesting, by the way? Like, shouldn't we think about that for a second? What interest would two fracking billionaires have in funding people like Ben Shapiro and funding YouTube channels like PragerU? Why do you think they do that? Do you think it's just because they have a tremendous amount of respect for those entities? Or do you think maybe they get a little something in return? Like, hey, here's your fucking agenda. Here's money and here's the agenda that goes with it, basically. So obviously we don't want the left-wing channels on YouTube funded by billionaires who also hand them an agenda. But what we do want, I believe, is for these left-wing channels on YouTube to be funded by a popular groundswell of support from the people. And, you know, one thing that Bernie Sanders' campaign definitely showed us is it is possible to crowdfund a campaign on a national level to be able to actually have money to compete with billionaires like Bloomberg, with billionaires like Tom Steyer, with, millionaires like Joe Biden, who is also funded by billionaires. It's possible to do that with just small dollar donations. So I think that there needs to be a much stronger fundraising apparatus for a lot of these left-leaning, YouTube channels. That's something that could definitely be done. That's definitely a page you could take out of the right-wing playbook. Get these people the proper funding. Because, we've talked about it before. Ben Shapiro is not organically popular, all right? Ben Shapiro is not just a guy who turned on a camera and started ranting and raving into it. And just, everybody's just gathered around because, he's so insightful, he's so wonderful. No, there was a concerted, big money push to make Ben Shapiro a fucking thing. There was a concerted, big money push to make sure that his videos got in front of as many eyeballs as fucking possible. So I think that left-driven media definitely needs something that's kind of equivalent to that. There needs to be this robust advertising push. And in order for there to be this robust advertising push, what you need for that is capital. What you need for that is money. And obviously, if you're a leftist, you cannot turn to the billionaire class for funding. So you got to turn to the people. It has to be grassroots. It has to be a fucking popular uprising of financial support. That's important. And, Kyle Kalinski's Patreon or whatever is not going to cut it. Me taking, super chats and Streamlabs and shit is not going to cut it. It needs to be something further than that. And by the way, when I talk about left-wing media apparatus, I'm not talking about myself because I'm not trying to be the news. All right. I'm talking about people who are basically the news. I'm talking about your Kyle Kalinskis. I'm talking about your Humanist Reports. I'm talking about whoever the fuck else is out there, Jimmy Dore, whatever. Whoever you like in that sort of sphere, those people. So anyway, that's some stuff. What else we got here? All right, so here's another thing that conservatives do, Republicans do, right-wingers do, that the left could definitely take a page out of the fucking playbook. Let me wet my whistle here. Let me just wet my whistle, boy, Sonny Jim Ho. There's some good aspartame. Right-wingers, when they're out, like, you ever notice this? Like, I don't know how many of you have, like, right-wing family members or right-wing friends or whatever, but I do. And one thing I notice about them is that they're way more brazen about just letting their opinion be known in a very boisterous manner. Left-wingers, like, when they're on, the Twitter sphere, and I think Trump's a doo-doo head, whatever. Biden's bad. But, like, in real life, they tend to be kind of like, just listen to other people talk and maybe, like, emotional, like, I can't really find myself agreeing with that particular sentiment. No, you got to be more, like, right-wingers are always super fucking boisterous about it. You know what I mean? It's like, they'll just be like, man, I think that, a lot of these immigrants that come over and just stealing American jobs, they don't really even integrate in the culture or nothing, man. It's just bullshit. And I think it's bullshit that this is going on. I think, Nancy Pelosi, blah, 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 blah. Like, they don't care. And what happens when they're so boisterous like that and so forceful with their opinions is that it makes it feel to the people around them like this is the default position. This is the position that people just have by default, And anyone who argues with it is like fringe and crazy, even when that's not fucking reality. You look at the actual political, alignments in this country. Yeah, there's a lot of right-wingers. There's a lot of left-wingers. There's a lot of fucking centrists. There's a lot of libertarians. There's a lot of this and that and everything. There's all kinds of people all over the political spectrum, but right-wingers tend to make it feel like their positions are the default. They're the real America. And everyone else that's against them is like, oh, no, that's fucking fake America. That's crazy people. That's crazy talk. So the only way you change that is you got to be every bit as loud and forceful as those motherfuckers. That's just from personal observation. Now, are there right-wingers who are quiet and demure and just passive people? Sure. Are there left-wingers who are loud, boisterous, obnoxious people? Yes. But what I'm saying is you need more of them. You need more loud, boisterous, annoying people. Because loud, boisterous, annoying people, even though they're annoying and grating and irritating and you just want to be like, shut the fuck up. At the same time, that sort of mentality does push that position to feel like a default. And certainly I think that's needed because you have a lot of loud, boisterous, angry fucking people on the right. So I think you need a lot of loud, boisterous, angry people on the left to counteract that. And hey, if you want to be a loud, angry, boisterous person in the center or wherever the fuck else, go right ahead. The most important thing is wherever you're at, advocate for your position forcefully. Because that's better than certain people just being quiet and shutting up and not fucking letting, what they think be known and letting it just, because you know what? Your silence a lot of times is interpreted as assent. Your silence a lot of times is interpreted as tacit agreement with whatever the fuck is being said. So speak up. Even if it's hard, even if it feels weird, even if you feel like an asshole, just do it. So that's number one. Let's just recap. The number one thing that right-wingers get that left-wingers don't get is you have to work inside the system and outside the system. Quick recap. Rise of the Tea Party. The Tea Party was a right-wing thing that got its shit done, okay? They rallied around Trump because they had a strong leader, and it was the leader they authentically wanted, so they were all able to galvanize their support around him. They did not fall for the electability argument. And outside of the electoral system, they formed strong communities, whether it be like their church community or their gun group with whatever level of militancy or whatever the fuck. They gather together. They've got all the think tanks, all the good think tanks, you guys. They got all the good media fucking funding. Ben Shapiro, tons of money being poured into that. Kyle Kalinske, you could say, oh, well, his Patreon, he makes, $15,000 a month on Patreon or whatever. That ain't shit compared to the kind of money that's being pumped into Ben Shapiro. That's like Ben Shapiro's advertising budget for a week or some shit. Maybe that's an exaggeration. I don't know. And they're way more boisterous. Right-wingers are way more boisterous. Left-wingers need to get there. So, here's another one. This is number two. Number two thing that right-wingers get that left-wingers kind of lagging behind on. And this is one I should probably put a caveat on this. I'm not sure I'm right about this one. The first one I gave you, I'm pretty confident in. This one, this might be a bad idea. This might be me giving some very irresponsible fucking advice. But I'm going to fucking say it because I think it at least warrants some thought. Guns can be political tools as long as you don't actually use them. So I want to now go ahead and turn over here to what happened at the Republican mostly rallies at the Michigan State House here. Armed demonstrators storm Michigan State House over stay-at-home order. So these are some right-wing protesters who are tired of the stay-at-home order. They feel like it's repressive. They feel like it's unconstitutional, so on and so forth. They fucking went to the Michigan State House, and they brought their guns. They brought their fucking guns with them, folks. And you know what? I saw so many people on lefty Twitter, and I guess elsewhere, saying like, oh my God, isn't this fucking scary? Isn't this terrifying? This is an armed mob storming a state house building. And, you know, what kind of messaging are, you know, Republicans trying to get across there? What are they trying to say with that? Hold on. Let me show you the reaction from Trump first really quick. So this is Trump's tweet about it. What the hell? Come on. The governor of Michigan should give a little and put out the fire. These are very good people, but they are angry. They want their lives back again, safely. See them, talk to them, make a deal. You know, so the attitude of, like, every leftist I've seen on Twitter and shit towards this mob, this armed mob raiding the state house in Michigan, the lefty reaction has been like, oh my God, this is so scary. Oh my God, these people are insane. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. The reaction on the right, as dictated by dear leader Trump, is these are good people. These are reasonable people. We need to talk to them. He's encouraging that to be talked about. So what do you think the right wing is trying to get across when they go somewhere with their guns? Now, obviously, no one was shot. Not a single shot was fired, just like when there was the big Virginia gun rally. You know, there was all these concerns that there was going to be bloodshed, but there was no bloodshed. The right-wingers went there to protest some new gun control regulations. They brought their guns. There was tons of armed right-wingers all over the place. But, you know, not a single shot was fired. Not a single person was hurt, at least not severely or seriously in any way, shape, or form. So what message are they trying to get across when they bring their guns with them? They're bringing them. The message I get, and I think it's the message they intend, is we're not here to use these guns, but we're here to let you know that there is a point at which we will. We're here to let you know, because, like, if you ever ask, like, a right-winger why they need guns, it's always like, in case the government becomes totalitarian, in case the government tries to control us, we got these guns. And it seems like it's effective. It seems like it strikes fear into the hearts of your enemies, and it seems like it gets you fucking taken seriously. So, you know, right now, like, think about how scared right-wingers get of Antifa, right? Antifa. A bunch of, like, gangly fucking college kids who look like they couldn't fucking, you know, curl fucking a 10-pound weight, walking around with, like, sticks and bats and shit. And it's like, please designate them terrorists. Please put them in jail. We got to stop them. They're crazy. They're evil. They're trying to hurt us. Imagine imagine guns, right? Imagine fucking guns in those hands. Imagine guns in the hands of, like, the next, like, women's rights march, you know, like the women's march. We're back, but this time we got guns. It's like, hey, what do you got those guns for? It's like, just in case the government ever tries to take away my right to abortion, I got this fucking gun. Kind of changes the dimension of the discussion a little bit, doesn't it? Now, the reason I might be wrong about this is that it might be a fucking form of escalation, and it might make the possibility of an out-and-out civil war a little more likely. So maybe just mull that over in your head. You know, I'm just spitballing here, guys. That one I'm not so strong on, but something to think about. Number 3. This one is important, and I'm pretty sure about this one. Protests. It's not enough to just protest, all right? Protests need to have clear, discernible goals that are concrete and tethered to reality. So what do I mean by that? Well, let me show you what I mean. So this is the aforementioned sort of Richmond, Virginia shit. This is the Richmond, Virginia gun rally. Right? It's just some pictures here. You got, oh, I'm having fun with my gun. Come and take it. Yep. Oh, yeah, we got our guns. We're sitting around, you know, just kind of chilling on the whatever. I'm a fucking cosplayer with an upside down American flag and a Trump fucking tote bag, you know. My governor is an idiot, you know, guns and flags and camouflage and all that stuff. Why were these people out there? You know why these people were out there? Because Virginia was passing some new gun control measures. So they went out there and they protested. And you know what they fucking said? They said, we don't like the measures that the governor's about to sign. We protest against that. Don't sign the bill. Now, did they stop the governor from signing the bill? No, they did not. But you know what? You ask people what the fucking objective of this protest was, you know it. You know it. Here's the lockdown protesters. Now, I don't think much of these people. Maybe you think better of them than I do. Maybe you think worse of them than I do. I don't know what your feelings are, but here's the point. I know exactly why the fuck they're protesting. They're tired of the lockdown. In the lockdown. That's our protest. We're here to fucking flaunt the lockdown order. We're against the lockdown order. We have a right to freedom of assembly, freedom of fucking speech, and we are tired of the lockdown. We want it to end. Here's an anti-abortion protest that they did a few months back. I am the pro-life generation. Save the baby humans. Choose love, choose life. It's a big protest rally, and what it's about is ending the right of women to get abortions. Now, I don't agree with that objective, obviously, but that is the fucking objective, and I know that that's the objective because it's fucking concrete, and it's easily explainable in a single sentence. Here's a protest against gun control legislation in Virginia. Here's a protest against, social distancing and lockdowns in America in response to the COVID-19 epidemic. Here's a protest to end the right of women to get abortions. Those are all right-wing protests, and they all have clear, discernible fucking goals. Also, let's think earlier about the Tea Party protest that we talked about, right? We have one of those too. Here's the Tea Party protest. There they are. Free markets, constitutionally limited government, Tea Party patriots, Sacramento. What did the Tea Party want? We want the entrenched Republican establishment out. We want all these immigrants out. We want taxes lowered. That's what we want. That's what we need. And that's what they got. So compare that with some of the fucking big lefty kind of protests that are out there. So you got the Women's March, which I guess part of that's about preserving abortion rights and stuff, but also just kind of generally like, women, we're women and we matter, and what do we want? Something, right? How about Occupy Wall Street? We're against Wall Street. What specifically do you want? We don't like Wall Street. They're corrupt. They're bad. So what do you want done? Fuck Wall Street. You know what I mean? Black Lives Matter. Racism's bad. No more racism. Okay, specifically, like, what stuff do you want? No more racism. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I'm sure the Women's March and Occupy Wall Street and Black Lives Matter and whatever the fuck else is out there all have, like, some goals. I'm sure they do. But what I'm saying is that their goals are kind of vague and nebulous. And their movements are too, we need specific fucking shit. Specific protests with a specific agenda. Like, here's our protest, and here's the 3 things we want, or here's the 1 thing we want, or whatever. But it needs to be clear. It needs to be something that can be explained in a sentence. They are protesting because they want X to happen. Fill in the fucking blank of X, motherfuckers. All right? Stop being so vague. Stop just thinking like the very nature of being out there protesting, we want our rights or whatever. Define what those rights are and ask for them in specific fucking terms. So number 4 thing that the right-wingers understand that the left-wingers just plain goddamn don't is and this is going to be the painful one for a lot of you, but it's true. The moral high ground, let me dramatically light my cigarette as a pause in between what I'm about to say. The moral high ground, ain't worth shit. It ain't worth shit. It ain't worth shit. The moral high ground is fucking useless. It doesn't matter. It's not a factor. If all right, I'll prove it to you. Hold on. Let's prove my fucking thesis here. I want you to see something. This is very important you watch this. This is Mitch McConnell talking to Sean Hannity. Oops, don't need that. Need this. No, that's what I just pressed before. I'm such a fucking retard. All right, here we go.
Went forward. If you were to recall, Sean, the most important decision I've made in my entire political career was not to fill the Supreme Court vacancy when Justice Scalia passed away. That was the beginning, and now we've got an exclamation point here after 3 years that we thought the public would be interested in reading about, and that's why the president and I...
The exclamation point he's talking about is that the Trump administration has approved more judges in 3 years at this point than the Obama administration appointed in the entire 8 years that Obama was in power.
Elaborated on this paperback.
I was shocked that former President Obama left so many vacancies and didn't try to fill those positions.
I'll tell you why. I was in charge of the... of what we did the last 2 years of the Obama administration.
I will give you full credit for that.
That little toothless fucking... Earlier in that same interview, by the way, Mitch McConnell was asked, hey, if a Supreme Court, position opens up towards the end of Trump's term, are you going to try to fill it then? He's like, yeah, of course we are. So there was this whole argument when Obama, in his last year in office, Scalia died, and Obama's like, all right, well, we're going to get this dude Merrick Garland in there. And Mitch McConnell is like, no, we need to wait till after the election because, you're on your way out. We can't have a president who's on his way out choosing the Supreme Court fucking justice. We got to wait till after the election. He was asked, well, would you apply that same standard to Trump? Nope. Because it's not a real standard. It's not a real fucking standard, folks. How many times are you going to let these fuckers eat your lunch because they're willing to play fucking dirtier than you are? Because their principles are just like, well, my principles changed. Oh, isn't this hypocritical? Yep, sure is, but we're going to win. That's what Mitch McConnell basically just told you. Am I a hypocritical piece of shit? Yeah, but I'm one that wins, bitch. I'd be laughing too if I was him. Moral high ground ain't worth shit. That motherfucker doesn't have a principle in his goddamn body. If you want principles, then make your principles results-oriented. Because you know what? Most of this shit that left-wingers talk about is their principles, their fucking moral high ground and shit. It's just a bunch of shit to make themselves feel better. Yeah, well, maybe I lost, but I didn't compromise my integrity. Well, fuck your integrity. Results are what matter. At the end of the day, if you're fighting for something that you think is just, then you do whatever the fuck you need to do to make that happen. And if the rules that you fucking set yourself are now a detriment, you change the fucking rules. That's what Mitch McConnell does, and that's how he gets shit done. Your principles are only useful insofar as they can achieve something. You get that? If you don't believe me, here's another example. Just think about the softness of Bernie Sanders. Think about the softness of Bernie Sanders. Think about all the frustrating things Bernie did. Think about how when he had the chance every time to slit Joe Biden's fucking throat, he instead was like, Joe Biden's my friend. Joe Biden's my buddy. Listen, In my view, Joe Biden is a wonderful human being. Joe Biden is the greatest. Joe Biden is my friend. Joe Biden and I, we go back a long way. I agree with Joe on many, many things. I think Joe is a terrific human being. Fuck that shit. Maybe Bernie does believe all that. Maybe he does think Joe Biden's a terrific human being. But you know what? He's not as good for this country as Bernie Sanders would have been. Not in my view. So Bernie Sanders should have said, Joe Biden is a piece of shit. And if you vote for Joe Biden, you're a fucking idiot. Not in those exact words, of course. But that should have been the more on par with what the messaging was. Why didn't he do that? Because he's too much of a fucking nice guy. Oh no, my principles. Oh, my principles. Oh, my moral high ground. I don't want to go low. I don't want to be nasty. No, go low. Be nasty. Get what you need to get done. So that's why the moral high ground ain't worth shit. So those are 4 things that right-wingers get, that left-wingers just, it seems like it has a tougher time permeating their skull. So. Let's go ahead and kind of change topics a little bit at this point. Let's talk about... I don't really know what I'm talking about at this point. I'm going to talk about something a little bit more vague, a little bit more nebulous, a little bit less concrete. So I think there's this sense in the air. I kind of get it that like, oh, TJ's kind of shifted left, TJ's moved to the left. I mean, I supported Bernie Sanders in 2016. I don't know if anyone remembers that. So when I started on YouTube, I was I would say moderately right-wing libertarian. I still had the vestiges of reading Ayn Rand when I was like 16 in my head. Like, I read The Virtue of Selfishness, and I read some of fucking that giant fucking brick of a tome, Atlas Shrugged. And, We the Living and whatever the fuck else. I read a bunch of fucking Ayn Rand shit. And, when I was a teenager and I was like, I too am an objectivist. I too believe in this sort of political philosophy. And that led me to being more of a right-leaning sort of libertarian, supporting a libertarian agenda. Minimal government, maximum freedom. That was the kind of fucking thing I went with. Now, then I stopped living with my daddy, because he died, and I had to go out in the real world for a minute. And being in the real world for a minute cured me of the libertarian streak pretty quick. I was like, you know what? Libertarianism fucking sucks. This is garbage. This everyone pull themselves up by their bootstraps nonsense, I don't like it. I've decided that it's not fun. So I think we need maybe a little bit better of a system than that. And, Obama talked a good left-wing game on the campaign trail, so I was like, yeah, Obama. I didn't actually vote for him, but I was pretty happy when he got elected. Now, that happiness was very short-lived, as Obama failed to meet even one fucking purity test. But it was fun. It was fun while it lasted. The idea that Obama was actually going to change something was a pretty neat little fantasy for the brief window of time that it actually felt like a reality. But then it turned out to not be so much a reality. But that's neither here nor there. You don't need to hear about those sour grapes. But there was a time on YouTube, I think, around 2016, especially after Bernie Sanders dropped out, where that right-wing grift was looking pretty goddamn appealing, I'll be honest with you. Like that right-wing grifty shit, like, hey, man, if I just fucking spout these talking points, that's money in the fucking bank, man. That's just money in the bank, because there was this big old red wave with Trump. Trump fucking ushered in this big red wave, and I flirted with it. I admit I did it. I fucking I sprinkled a few little talking points here and there, like, yeah, maybe it wouldn't be too harmful to have this little right-wing talking point. I'll still let it be known that I'm left-leaning, that, I'm by and large lean this way, and I support Bernie Sanders. I'm not going to hide that. But, I'm going to sprinkle a right-wing talking point here and there. And then part of me, not a big part, but a part, was like, you know, humanity's fucked anyway. Humanity's doomed. Everything's going to collapse. This country is on the fucking, bullet train to fascism. Might as well just go all the way right wing, right? Might as well just fucking tell them what they want to hear, ride the red wave, make a little money, get a comfortable little fucking nest egg for myself, and just do the Dave Rubin thing, Dave Rubin, no one likes him, no one respects him, but the motherfucker makes money. I could do that, right? Wouldn't be too big of a deal. I couldn't ultimately do it. It felt too icky, I mean, because the whole reason I got on this platform in the first place was so I could let my opinions and my thoughts be known. If I was just like LARPing as some kind of right-winger all the time, just for my own personal comfort and aggrandizement, that would feel pretty shitty. It would make me feel all icky and skivvy inside. I've decided that even if I do still sort of hold to that fatalistic sort of belief that we're kind of doomed, I'd at least like to try to not be doomed. I'd like to at least try to be on the right side. The side that's not a total piece of shit, in my opinion. Nihilism and fatalism can definitely go hand in hand, and I continue to be a nihilist to this day. I've tried to let go of that fatalism a little bit more. I've tried to be, and I know it's ironic for someone who hosts a show called Abandon Hope, but I've tried to be a little more hopeful, tried to have a little bit more hope for the future, tried to have a little bit more of a belief that human beings are actually capable of figuring this shit out and, breaking free of this terrible goddamn system that we all exist within. Because we've done it before, right? There's some historical examples of things improving. We don't live under, feudalism anymore. It's not just serfs and lords, although sometimes it doesn't feel like we've moved as far away from that as, as we should have or could have. But, at least in that direct nature of you don't own anything, only the Lord owns things, and everything you produce goes to the Lord. And, at least that's not quite the case anymore. At least we get a little bit more of a sliver of the fucking pie. So things are capable of improving. Things have improved in this country for gay people, for black people, for trans people. And, for workers, everything, things have gotten a little bit better here and there, historically, over time. So it's not some far-fetched idea to imagine that maybe things could get better in some ways. Now, I think it's an uphill battle. I think the forces of evil seem a lot fucking stronger than the forces of good right about now. But goddamn it, that's no reason to just throw in the towel and be like, well, I guess I'll just fucking do the grift. I guess I'll just parrot the talking points that I know are going to maximize my views and my profits and all that shit. Rather just be true to myself and make whatever living I can make that way. And, I'm not going to name names, but a lot of people, when offered the devil's hand on that one, hey, you want to ride the red wave to success? A lot of people said, my principles don't really matter. Yeah, I'll shake the devil's hand on that one. And I'm not saying I'm much better, because I looked at the devil's hand and I thought to myself, it's a pretty nice hand, looking pretty fucking sweet. But I guess ultimately I made the right choice. I do want to clarify something, though. I still don't like SJWs. And I still am not too keen on feminists either. You might think that maybe I've, this supposed leftward move I've made, which I haven't really made. I've just started to be a little bit more open about all of my political positions because I'm no longer concerned about well, what if the right-wingers don't like me? Lost a little bit of my concern about that. And don't get me wrong. I value having right-wingers in my audience. I value having centrists in my audience. I value having people who disagree with me in my audience. But I'm not making any more effort to coddle those people or to give them some, overly generous benefit of the doubt. I don't expect, because look, I watch some right-wingers and shit on YouTube. I don't expect them to placate me, so why should I placate a right-wing audience? I shouldn't. But, when it comes to the feminism stuff and the SJW stuff, I know it's not popular to talk about anymore. I know that when you do it, you get lumped in with that right-wing crowd, which is why I've stopped talking about it. But I'll be honest, I'm still not super down with that shit. And it kind of... Well, here, let me fucking show you something. Something you might have forgotten. I don't know. This is something I did back in 2016. This is extraordinary people daring to actually help women. Now, for those of you who need a little context on this, I guess I should switch my cameras there. For those of you who need a little context on this, back in 2015, 2016, whenever the fuck this happened, Anita Sarkeesian put out a video asking for money for a new series she was doing. She hadn't even finished really her video game series yet that she'd raised like $700,000 for or some crazy amount like that. So I said to my, so she wasn't paying any taxes on it. I'd looked at her tax returns because it's public fucking record, because it's, a nonprofit that she runs that does nothing but produce videos. I knew that she already had like $600,000 in her coffers of her fucking, nonprofit business. And yet here she is asking for yet more money to make a series of videos that don't cost $100,000 to make, okay? Her videos do not have this kind of fucking budget. So I said, fuck that. Instead of raising money for a bunch of fucking feminist videos that she's gonna fucking spend, $5,000 on, but raise $100,000 for, and then put the rest in a fucking account somewhere. What about actually raising money for a real fucking feminist charity that's doing something good for women who are oppressed around the globe? Why not do that instead? And me and my neckbeard audience, who had watched all of my anti-feminist content, all gave to this charity, this feminist charity, the International Women's Health Coalition. It is a feminist fucking charity. And we raised money for it. Me, a neckbeard, and my audience, a bunch of neckbeards, all of which had consumed a shit ton of anti-feminist content that I had produced, raised money for these women and girls in the third world so that they could end child marriage, end forced marriage, fight for their rights to get abortions, promote sexual education so that they're actually in a position to know when they're being taken advantage of, and it just generally advancing the rights of women and girls. My audience, watching my anti-feminist content, gave money to this charity. You know why? Because they were never anti-feminist. I was never anti-feminist. I was anti-fucking bullshit. I was anti-virtue signaling, art censoring piece of shit motherfuckers who want to control everything that everyone says and everything that everyone does and everything that everyone is allowed to consume because maybe the messages are harmful. Maybe they are. So I don't mind a feminist who's fighting for the reproductive rights of women and girls, or, fighting for women's rights in countries where, women don't have equal rights to men. I don't mind that at all. I don't mind SJWs who are like, here's some fucking issue, like, even though black people and white people smoke weed at roughly the same rate, black people are like 4 times more likely to be arrested for it. Black people are, way less likely to get a loan, or this or that or the other thing. Like real issues that substantively affect real people. I'm all for that because you can justify that. But what I'm not for is when you have not just I don't have, here's, I wrote it down here. I'll just read this fucking verbatim. I usually just kind of use this as an outline, but I'll just read this fucking statement. I don't have an issue with the descriptive notion that art and entertainment impact thoughts and attitudes, but the prescriptive measure of attempting to close those avenues off to curtail said attitudes is what I take issue with. This idea of, we need to control art. We need to control what you can see in a video game or what kind of movies get made or any of this stuff. That's what I took issue with. That was always my fucking criticism. Because I believe that people need the freedom to grow. People need the freedom to change. People need the freedom to express themselves. And you can't change people by simply limiting certain avenues of expression and saying, this road here is artistically forbidden. This road here is intellectually forbidden. You're not allowed to explore these ideas. You're not allowed to explore these tropes because it's harmful for you. You ever notice that these people who want to censor things, who want to control media and entertainment and art, you ever notice that they're never concerned for themselves? They're never concerned that they are the ones who are going to be negatively influenced by this stuff. They're always concerned of this nebulous group of idiots out there who are too stupid to process information accurately. They're always afraid that there's just like all these suckers out there who are going to get, oh my God, they're brainwashed. They just, they see a pair of tits in a video game and bam, they just think women are nothing but sex objects. That's what happens. That's what happens. Now, that being said, look, I understand the idea that art and entertainment can be used for nefarious purposes. I understand that art and entertainment can be used as a tool of fucking repression. I get it. I do. But I feel like there has to be a better solution than simply saying the artists cannot express themselves in this way. This sort of entertainment is not permissible. This sort of idea, cannot be talked about or discussed. Because I think that when you do that, when you have this, when you have this notion of like, we got to protect stupid people, we got to protect impressionable people, that censorship is always going to come back and bite you on the ass, first of all. And it's happened a million times. I've seen so many pro-censorship people end up getting censored themselves in some way, shape, or form. Because there's always a justification for how something is wrong or bad. Because all that shit is subjective. It's all subjective. There is no absolute moral law. There is no absolute, definitive, and correct right and wrong. So when you try to impose a standard on art, the second that your standard becomes, loses its popularity and some other standard takes its place, the very mechanisms of censorship that you fought for may now be used against you. We cannot allow anybody to have carte blanche rights to censor certain opinions, to censor certain artistic tropes, to censor certain modes of thought or ideas because they're deemed dangerous. And, none of this is to say that maybe look, is there dangerous art out there? There is. There just fucking is. If art didn't have the ability to influence people, if art didn't have the ability to change people's minds, if art didn't have the ability to change the way a person thinks and change the way a person sees the world, then art would have no fucking purpose. It would be useless. But art also has no purpose and would be useless if you don't give artists the freedom to express themselves. Even if you think that what they're saying or what they're putting out there is stupid, harmful, or whatever, there has to be a robust dialogue. And I think that the solution has to be education. It has to be the ability to you have to teach people to think critically. If you're so worried about gullible people, then help them not be gullible. Don't just try to remove everything that they might fall for Instead, try to help them evaluate things critically. Try to show them that, the simplest answer, the most convenient answer, the most emotionally sort of, satisfying answer is not actually necessarily the right answer. That's what you have to do. And we don't make any effort to do that. Everybody's just trying to shut everybody up, and no one wants to listen to each other. I also think it's very important that, when you talk about freedom of speech, everybody wants to yammer about freedom of speech, man. Everybody on the right wing, freedom of speech, freedom of speech, freedom of speech. Everyone on the left wing, freedom of speech, freedom of speech, freedom of speech. We got to have freedom. We got to have freedom of speech. Now, you go to some of the really far right people and some of the really far left people, and, they'll tell you that freedom of speech is not really something they value. It's just a virtue signaling thing. They don't actually want that because, if they get their way and they transform society radically, they don't necessarily want other people opposing that. They don't want robust discussion. They want freedom of speech for now when I need it. But then when I win, no more freedom of speech. Because we don't like dissent in my fucking utopia. That's why I think that if you're going to talk about freedom of speech, there also has to be, along with freedom of speech, a willingness to listen. Because if it doesn't matter what you can say, you can have absolute freedom to say whatever the fuck you want, but if no one's listening, if no one's actually respectfully appraising what another person says, what another person feels, why they feel that way, how they came to feel that way, if there's no understanding, if there's no sort of effort on your part or my part to look at another person who's different than us and see the world through their eyes, if we don't even attempt that, then freedom of speech is a cum rag. It's fucking useless. It might as well not even fucking exist. Chain smoking. Just like my hero, John Carpenter. Anyway, it is now time for me to look at Streamlabs and Super Chats. I thank you guys for listening to me ramble and rave and rant like a fucking lunatic. I hope that you got something out of it, but now it's time to turn our attention to the Streamlabs and the Super Chats. And, yeah. I don't need to change that. I need to change this. So let's see what we got going on from the Streamlab and Super Chat sect. Boop-a-doop-doo. Let me grab my drink. I'm going to surely need it. Let me also just quickly adjust this camera. Thank you for your patience. All right. Let's get into it. So, we'll start with the Streamlabs. Today is, what, the 3rd? So, Shitty Economist gave $6.66 and says, just showing some love to my favorite YouTuber. Aw, I love you too, man. That's great. Thank you. I appreciate it. Big Ghibli gave $2 and said, heard you mention Sahid Buttar recently, and weren't sure if you said his name right. It's spelled phonetically, so you would pronounce the sh. Okay, so it's Shahid Buttar. I'm sorry, I'm really not great at non-Anglo names. It's not like me trying to fuck on somebody or something. I'm just not great at it. Hope to hear you mention him again in the future. I'd love to see him win. Now, I don't think he's going to win. I don't have much hope for that. But if there's even the slightest possibility of replacing Nancy Pelosi, I think that that's nothing but a positive thing. So, yes, I would love to see Nancy Pelosi be replaced by someone who's an actual leftist. Jake the Snake gave $1 and said, hey, TJ, would you say the left wing in this country lose their way? I think he means lost their way. Seems our choices are now corporatist, centrist right, and evangelical Christian far right. Love the content. Keep up the good work. Yeah, I mean, I talked about this in one of my previous streams. I think I actually put this camera too high. I'm sorry. I talked about this in one of my previous streams about how what we have in this country is essentially a far-right party and a center-right party, and that's supposed to be our fucking choice, I guess. I don't think that the left in this country, look, I watched a video by a guy called Philosophy Tube. It was like a history of liberalism, and he was talking about neoliberalism. And he was talking about how neoliberalism is always going to sort of by default veer to the right. And the reason it's going to veer to the right is because capitalism is such an integral part of neoliberalism. And, far right ideologies are not necessarily opposed to capitalism, whereas far left ideologies are opposed to capitalism. So if you're given the choice of two extremes and you're like a neoliberal sort of establishment, are you going to go to the one that says you can still exist, or are you going to go to the one that says you're not allowed to exist anymore? You're probably going to go to the one that says you can still exist. So because the left is an existential threat to the current paradigm in America in a way that the far right is not, that's why, you're going to see this constant push to the right. That's why, a neoliberal fucking system is that's why you got to replace it. Hunter S. Bunsen gave $6.66. It says, are you aware the DFF intro with English auto-generated subtitles translates to bad boy and sometimes be baptized? Also, have you ever pondered whatever the difference is between American and British Sign Language? How do they represent the extra U? No, I've never wondered that. That's kind of interesting. I did not know that YouTube's auto-generated subtitles translates the deep fat fried into bad boy or be baptized. Yeah, it was actually kind of we actually did that. I'm lying. We did that as a plan. We wanted to encourage baptism, because we're really secret Christians. Ben Riley gave $6.66, says, I am an absurdist and an anti-nihilist. I don't know how you can be an absurdist without being a nihilist. I don't know. I feel like if you're an absurdist, you have to be a nihilist. So that seems incongruent to me, but maybe you could send me a DM or something explaining that. But did you read the mathematical analysis of wasted votes I sent last time? And feminism plus commercialism is the real issue, in my opinion. P.S. My corpse, my vote for Biden, so that's a possibility. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't read this thing you sent me. I think I actually lost it. I put it in a document, and then my computer crashed, and I lost the document. So maybe you should resend that. My Twitter DMs are open. You can send them there. And you can also explain how you can be an absurdist and an anti-nihilist, because I am an absurdist and a nihilist. So, and I feel like those philosophies are nicely complementary to each other, kind of like salt and pepper. And then, as usual, there's probably way more super chats than there are Streamlabs. So let me go ahead and check those out. So let's see. A lot of these are from today. We got a lot of these 504s and 503s going. Why would there be 504s? It's not even that hasn't even happened yet. Whatever. Okay. So Barry Bluebird gave $20, did not say anything. But still, we kindly thank him for his very generous donation. Larry Jones gave $5, says, contributing some of that sweet Corona stimulus money. By the way, you guys should consider a DFF on the Godzilla franchise sometimes. A lot of meat on that bone. Sometimes topics like that, like the Godzilla franchise, there's like too much meat on that bone. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, fuck, it's like so much. We're just not sure how to even fucking approach it. Jennifer R. gave $4.99, says, DFF patron here. What should I have for dinner tomorrow? I make a pretty good chicken and dumplings. If you've never made chicken and dumplings, it's surprisingly easy to do. You should try it. So what you got to do, and I'll just like kind of briefly lay it down for you, but you can kind of look up a recipe as well. But like, basically, you take a whole chicken, you put it in a pot full of fucking water. You throw into that water a shitload of thyme, and some bay leaves and some quartered onions and some halves of lemon. And you boil that for about an hour, covered, and more like a simmer than a boil, honestly. And then you take the chicken out, you let it cool for a minute, then you kind of you carve it up, you get as much meat off it as you can, you kind of shred the meat up. Don't pour out the broth, because the water you cook the chicken in will now be like a chicken broth. So don't fucking get rid of that. Keep that. Re-add the chicken to the broth. You can optionally take out all that stuff you put in there, like the onions and the lemons and stuff. You might not want to. You might want to just pull that out as well. And then you kind of boil that for a little while, kind of cook the chicken in there. Then you put in your dumpling dough, which is basically just made of shortening, flour, and water. And then you flatten it out, cut it into strips. You might want to put it in the fridge to rest for an hour or so. So you might want to just kind of do that before you put the chicken in. But you can get exact measurements somewhere online. But follow a recipe that's similar to that one, and you will have good results, I promise you. Admiral Anger gave $1. Thank you. Koba Juga Shivili, sorry, gave $1.99, says Repubs suck, but Dems can't escape technocracy. I don't know what that means, but thank you. Slanesh follower 666 gave $9.99, says, what's your thoughts on Marxism and anarchism, and why are you not a Marxist or anarchist? I'm not an anarchist because I believe that you need some sort of measure of control somewhere along the line. I've heard people like Vosh talk about sort of like these democratically controlled, worker-owned co-ops sort of running things in the country. I don't really know how that would work. Maybe he could explain that to me at some future conversation or something. But as far as I'm concerned, you need some manner of state. As for why I'm not a Marxist, I don't really know if I'm a Marxist or not, because I haven't actually read any Marx. So I guess I'd have to take a read and see. Sambus90 gave 10 Australian dollars and says, does being a centrist always mean being moderate and lacking a bold vision? I lean left on some issues and right on others, but some of my positions wouldn't be considered moderate by most people. I think that maybe what you are is sort of more of an independent, and you kind of have a hybrid sort of political philosophy. Nothing wrong with that. Silhouetted Animator gave $10 and says, TJ, have you heard of a 1989 film about the Marquis de Sade simply called Marquis? It's about his life while having actors in animal masks, talking dicks, and freaky Terry Gilliam visuals. Sounds interesting. Maybe I'll check that out if it's on Prime or something. Galamuku gave 10 euros, I think that is. What stage of dementia do you think Biden has to be in order for Democrats to drop him? Well, if they haven't done it yet, then they would nominate a bowl of Jell-O pudding at this point. Tommy1010 gave $4.99, says lefties are irrelevant. They don't even vote for their own candidates. The DNC should go more right if they want to win, to appeal to right-wing mods. I don't think you're not gonna appeal to right-wingers, though. The right-wingers already have their party that caters to them perfectly. I don't think you're gonna we're gonna win the right-wing moderates and centrists. I mean, the Democrats already have the right-wing moderates and fucking centrists. They're a right-wing moderate fucking party. I think the lefties need to fucking take over. Let those people go to the Republicans if they want. That's their decision at that point. But, based on the popular support of Bernie Sanders among independents, I think a lot of independents are more left-leaning than they are right-leaning. So, Freakadelic gave $5. It says, you once made a video positing, can we have altruism without morality? Thoughts on it now? I don't remember what I said in that video, or I would offer up some sort of answer to that. I'd have to look into it. So once again, you might be better off reminding me with like a Twitter DM so I can actually go watch the video and see. Alaskan Tundra Wolf gave $2 and says, wish me luck on finals, TJ. You don't need luck because I know that you know your shit. You're already good. You're going to do well. I believe in you. Koba Juga Shivili again. I'm sorry once again for butchering whatever your name is. $1.99. Marx is a damn effective idea. Left is CIA. Okay. Divorce from Humanity, $10, says, do you believe identity politics and political correctness drove a wedge among left-leaning / centrist people? If so, what can be done to better unite the left on a common goal? I think that the left needs to be more about policies and less about virtue signaling bullshit. And I think I made that pretty clear in my fucking ending rant, but in case it wasn't clear, identity politics is useful in as far as you can highlight areas where, maybe people are being discriminated against or something like that in a concrete way. But when it's used as a fucking means of controlling artists and art and entertainers and stuff like that, I'm against it. And when it fucking makes the highly visible public sort of art critique battles so central to its overall message, I think that's a recipe for failure because it seems trivial, and it is. You're a left-wing populist, TJ, maybe even Marxist. Man, this guy is really trying to get me to be a Marxist. This Koba Jugavshili or whatever the fuck. Pong Master Fong gave $10 and says, as an atheist, how do you feel about Aaron Ra, Matt Dillahunty, and the AXP in general? I don't know what the AXP is. AXP, do I know those initials? I don't. Aaron Ra, I haven't heard that name in fucking ages. Matt Dillahunty seems all right. I don't have any personal grudges against either of those guys. Special Eddie gave $5 and says, who will you vote for at this exact moment, spur of the moment? You have till November to make your real decision, so no judgment on this one. Love you, Tej. Now, so see, here's what I'm doing. I am in a deep red state. We do have an ostensibly, Democratic governor, but don't let that fool you. He's a Democrat in name only. He's not even. I mean, like he's a Democrat, but he's not even pro-choice. He's fucking pro-life and shit. He's like super conservative. The main thing he's a Democrat on is that he chose to accept the, the Medicare provisions of the Affordable Care Act. This state's going for Trump is the point. I'm in a deep red state. This state is not going for Biden. So there's no point in me wasting a vote on Biden because I'm not going to help him win anything. So what I'm going to do is I am probably going to vote for the Green Party as a protest vote and also as a means of, maybe potentially helping the Green Party qualify for federal funding, even though that's kind of a fucking pipe dream. But if I lived in a swing state right now, I would probably suck it up and vote for Joe Biden, even though I think he is disgusting and an idiot and a million other things. I've made my criticisms of Joe Biden clear. We need a strong leader like Stalin was. No, we don't need an authoritarian despot. Fuck you. Thanks for the money. Barry Bluebird, again, $5. How has this not led to a mass shooting? I don't know what this is. I don't know what you're talking about. My stream? Hopefully my stream does not lead to a mass shooting. Random Internet Guy gave $5 Canadian. He says, I loved your video about Manson's album and would love to hear you review more music. Life of Pablo by Kanye West would be a great music to review. I don't have the... I find that, even though I'm someone who enjoys some music, first of all, my tastes are so sort of limited. There's 99% of music I hate. So if I was to review music, it would mostly be negative reviews, which I don't think is what people really want. It would be highly fucking, centered around my very narrow kind of personal tastes. And I don't really have the language to express what I like about songs. Like, I know what I like, but I don't really have the language to express it. I can't be like a sonic anthem of, whatever. If I had the words, I can't even do the impression. So, leave that shit to like some Anthony Fantano type, although I don't agree with most of his reviews. Not that I even really watch too many of them. Anyway, and Delco Kozarik says, give 5 BAMs. I don't know what a BAM is. TJ, your work on this channel and DFF is amazing. You never fail to make me laugh. Have some Bosnian marks. Oh, cool. Bosnian marks. You sexy Satan's acolyte. Oh, thank you. Koba Jugavshvili, the commie guy again. The left needs muscle like Stalin had muscle. No fucking, I don't want no Stalin, dude. No Stalin. No. Bad. Naughty. Tommy1010 says, RIP Black Dems with guns. Police screwed that idea. Yeah, that's, you know, I guess that's a point. Koba, this Koba guy again, Stalin, and he just keeps going about Stalin. I'm just going to ignore his shit. Thanks for all his like little donations though, but no, fuck Stalin. Sky McEwen says, bro, did you cover the gun nuts in Michigan? Yeah, I covered them a little bit. Bella gave $5, says, organizing general strikes, walkouts is how you get real change. Progressives don't have the stomach to be hurt by the state to advance an agenda. Yeah, maybe you're right. I think that we talked in a previous stream called Strike about a general strike, so you can hear my opinions about that there. If you haven't watched that, definitely check that out. GVirus00 says, hey, great show. Always look forward to your vids. I always look forward to you watching my vids. Pong Master Fong, once again, $5. Who is Rich Evans, you asked? He was on the Ellen DeGeneres show. He has Macaulay Culkin warm him every night in bed and a gold mine for a DFF. Okay. Cool. GVirus00 gave us $4.99. Says, what are your thoughts on Anita's toxic influence ruining the future of gaming like she did with The Last of Us? No, I've been look, I'm not a gamer, so I don't really get into a lot of this like gamer shit. You know, the one time I did step a foot into the gamer shit, it was because there was this movie adaptation happening of Lara Croft's Tomb Raider, and the actress they picked to play Lara Croft was, you know, not well endowed in the chest region. So I was like, you know, I don't really buy this chick as Lara Croft. Her tits are too small. And apparently that was the worst statement ever made by a human being. It was literally like I got international press coverage for that tweet. So, you know, after that I was like, maybe I just shouldn't comment on this stuff. I need to just take a step back or something. I don't know about this Last of Us stuff. I've seen some people complaining about it. I don't really know what the issue is. There's other, you know, channels that'll talk about that kind of stuff. I'm not really the one for it. Corey Leahy says, TJ, you need to check out The Last of Us 2 leaks on DFF. Oh my God. I know you don't care about games, but I need to work on it, and it's the worst thing I've ever heard. Okay. All right. I guess I'll look into it. If everyone's clamoring for my opinion, I guess I can fucking bring myself to give it eventually, but I'll have to look into it. Dan Gonzalez gave $5 and says, can't help but agree. This current iteration of feminism is less feminist and more misandrist. I remember your charity. It was laudable and helped. Yeah. I kind of always wonder, by the way, what the women who run that charity, I assume it's mostly women, what they thought about all this. Like, I wonder if they thought to themselves, like, do we really want to take money from this anti-feminist? Or were they just like, you know, we hate Anita Sarkeesian too? Did they agree with me that she was a shallow, vapid fucking whatever? Or did they, you know, or they just like, well, even though we don't like him, we'll still take the money because it's going to do good. I don't know what their attitude was. They never reached out to me. But they don't need to. I don't give a fuck. I'm glad we could help. Garnett's X, the people who want to censor things are always afraid of consequences. Things might escalate beyond their control. The truth is not always polite. This is not even about truth, all right? Because a lot of the stuff we're talking about is just boils down to opinions. You know, there's not, you know, I'm not fucking necessarily concerned with people. I mean, like, if someone's spreading lies, that's one thing. I think we can talk about censoring lies. I think that's a valid fucking discussion. But if we're talking about censoring opinions, then no. Like, people are entitled to their opinions. No more Mr. Nice Guy 007. Should sex work be decriminalized? Oh, absolutely. Why? I've yet to hear a fucking cogent counter argument. Like, why shouldn't it be? I'm just going to I'll go fucking right down to the most basic argument I know for this, which is the George Carlin argument. Selling is legal. Fucking is legal. Why isn't selling fucking legal? I mean, I don't know. Does anyone have a refutation to that? I've never heard it. Sky McEwen. TJ, who's your daddy? I don't know. Probably you. You gave me $10. Derpy Poison, $2. TJ, can you wish me a happy birthday? Yeah, sure. Happy birthday to Derpy Poison, everybody. Everyone fucking, if you're in the chat, just say happy birthday to Derpy Poison. He deserves it. G-Virus 00, another $4.99. Modern feminism doesn't want equality. It wants superiority. They have become megalomaniacs. I don't even know if they want superiority. I just think they want control. And they don't want control in any sort of meaningful way. They want control over, ideas, which I guess, ideas are meaningful and stuff, but like no one should have control over that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I should be given control over what ideas can be seen or heard or listened to. I don't want that responsibility. I don't know anyone who I would trust with that responsibility. Garnett's ZX gave $5 says, the way you talk about freedom of speech is almost like equality. So long as society relies on the double standard, equality means nothing. I could see that point. Dot Nerd gave $10 says, I can see both sides with extremists trying to weaponize free speech, feminists, SJWs, white supremacists, etc., just to fill their own agenda. Projectionism is the hypocrisy of today. I think that, everyone should pursue their agenda, obviously. I mean, like, there's no point in being, having a political ideology if you're not trying to make it actionable. But there are certain things that I think that should just be beyond the pale. There needs to be some kind of fucking standard. And there needs to be something, there needs to be like some sort of agreed upon battlefield, like this is the battlefield. Here are the rules of the battlefield. And if you break them, then fuck you get destroyed. But we don't have any fucking rules. Everyone makes up their own rules. Kind of like Mitch McConnell earlier. So in that system, I can understand why people want to play dirty. But maybe we should fucking get together and come up with something better. CSGS Kate, or maybe it's CSG Skate. I don't know. Hey, TJ, have you considered bringing back the Lil Beezy character? I find it shameful so people in your audience got to experience it. So I did a fake mumble rapper called Lil Beezy, and, he would do songs like, Summon up, I won't get it. Summon out, palm won't bid it. Fumming out, calm, don't get it. And just like really terrible shit like that. But then I found out there's an actual Lil Beezy, dude. There's an actual motherfucker going out around calling himself Lil Beezy that is a mumble rapper. So there's like, you can't even parody them. You can't even fucking parody the mumble rappers. Because the second you come up with some ridiculous fucking name that no one should fucking have, someone has it. So that's just where it's at. Koba, this guy. Okay, yeah, this is the Stalin guy. We're not reading his. AWH says, okay, hold on. No, I'm not getting into that. No. We're not doing that. Sorry. Evan Goers, $2. Where can I find your fur affinity gallery, TJ? I don't have a fur affinity, but I do like Lola Bunny. I've made it clear that I do. But I mean, that's like an exception. I'm not really too into furry shit for the most part, but she's just an exception for me. I'm down with the Lola. Wow, they're coming in quick now. Let's see. I think I missed it. Okay, so let's go back to the donations. I'm going to do one more round of donations, and then we'll do one more round of super chats, and then, that's that. So let's see. Oh, my God, a bunch of donations came in. Where the fuck do these start? Okay. My wife and I watched The Exorcist last night. We were a little bummed it wasn't scary. It made us laugh. Well, you got to watch it in the context of the time, I think, because obviously, it was probably scarier in 1979 or whenever it fucking came out. I think it was actually earlier than that. Ben Riley, here you go. Don't lose them? Don't lose what? Thanks for the money. The Big Red Bear 666. Honestly, Trump should probably be reelected, if only because electing Biden will put the left to sleep again and will make the system more entrenched. It will prevent peaceful change. Yeah, I've made those arguments myself, but I think there's other arguments as well. I think probably the argument that really kind of convinced me is like, look, if you're on the left, then either way, you're going to have an enemy in the White House. So you should pick the enemy that you can maybe bully around a little bit easier. And I think that we can bully Biden more easily than we can bully Trump, because I don't think Trump can be bullied, especially not by the like of the American left. Biden, I think that he might actually view us as a voting bloc that he needs. So we might be able to actually get some concessions there. Breadlock 666. I believe we need to get Biden elected just to deal with the Republican problem and provide the left with a weaker enemy to defeat. Even the Bolsheviks used the Social Democrats until the Tsar was gone. A united right would crush the current left. You could be right about that. Geist gave $11. Hey, TJ, huge fan. You folks at DFF should make a Tupac episode. Yeah, maybe. All right. We're done with Streamlab donations, so don't put any more Streamlabs out. If you want to fucking put some super chats through, that's fine. I'm going to try to look at some of these new super chats that have come in, because I know we got a few more since last time. Okay. Sky McEwen again. Stop being lazy. I want more videos. Fuck you. I put out plenty. Caleb H gave $2. Didn't say nothing. Good for him. Geist gave 20 Canadian bucks. Hey, TJ, huge fan. You guys should make a Tupac episode on DFF. Same guy that did a Streamlab. I guess he decided to do one through, whatever the fuck, super chat as well. Maximus Smith gave $4.99. He says, I am right wing and don't agree with much you say, but I still enjoy your videos and respect your point of view. See, that's nice. That's a nice thing. You know, here's a guy who's a right-winger who can listen to a lefty talk a bunch of lefty bullshit. And it's like, you know what? I'm glad that I heard that. You know, and I feel that way a lot of times when I watch right-wingers on YouTube. I'm like, you know what? I mean, I don't agree with a goddamn word that motherfucker just said, but I appreciate that I got a fucking preview into his point of view. So that's a good thing. I think we should encourage that. Caleb H, $20. Woman leaving me because BM raking me over coals for child support, sitting in car wanting to end it, but you came on. Love you, man. Listening to you for 9 years. You are the best. Holy shit, dude. Don't end it. I guarantee you that whatever problems you have will pass. Don't let some fucking crazy bitch ruin your life, all right? I know it's hard. I know that fucking life sucks major fucking amounts of dick sometimes, but you absolutely do not want to give up just because of, don't let her win, you know what I mean? And I mean, if you're paying child support, I assume that also means you have a child. So, you know, I don't know what your status is to be able to see that kid at this point, but maybe someday you'll be able to have some sort of fucking, you know, father and child relationship with that kid. So don't fucking do it. Stay alive. You know, don't fucking let the world fucking beat you. You know, remember to keep your middle finger muscle strong. Remember to flip the world off on the daily. Barry Bluebird, very generous person, already given quite a bit of money, gave $5 and says, what is your opinion of the series Freedom Tunes? I've never heard of that. I'm sorry. I wish I'd heard of the things you're asking me about, because I feel like $5 deserves an answer, but unfortunately the only answer I can give is I have no fucking idea. Brian Camrus gave $10, says, would you ever live on a commune? I don't know. I guess if it was I don't know. I'd have to see the fucking commune. But I tend to be anti-people, but I'm trying to get over it. So we'll see. Red Eye Sam gave $5. Kobo was the nickname given to Stalin by Bukharin when they were friends, and I can't even pronounce that, and was Stalin's last. Okay, I don't know what relevance that has. Maybe I asked earlier, but I don't remember now. Cat Snake and Wolf gave $1.99. Trump or Biden, who'd you let babysit first? Neither. Barrett Privateer gave $5 Canadian bucks. Cool. Didn't say nothing. That's fine. Danny Martinez gave $2. No comment, just giving you money. Essay. Cool, thank you. Joe Lopez, 40 ounce, gave $5. Says, recently purchased the Douchebag Bible, holy book. Yeah, that's true. And the Douchebag Bible is available down below. I'm still selling copies of that. I have about 18 copies that I'm personalizing right now. And for those who ordered and are waiting for those copies to arrive, please have some patience. They do take a little while to personalize. Yazan Kiomgi, I hope. Answering Minorities was a condensed, high-quality series. I hope you produce something similar in the future, even if it revolves around a different subject. Yeah, those were just kind of gimmies. Those are super easy. The Blue Noble gave $5. It says, if you're having trouble with supporting Biden or not, it's important to remember you'd really be voting for his VP since he'll probably give up the power. I think there's a pretty strong chance of that. That guy gave $17.89. Says, have you done a DFF on the French Revolution? That topic has some resonance these days. That's not a bad idea. Christopher gave 400 huffs. I don't know what a huff is, but thank you, Christopher. Lisandro Cruz gave $10. Says, TJ, what happened to Venom Fang X? I miss your destruction of the theist videos you used to do. I don't know what happened to him. I don't really care either. Indy gave $4.99. Says, has Bernie Sanders created enough people to share his views to make it likely there will be a candidate like him in 2024? I have no idea. I talked to Kyle Kalinske about this, and he said he's not super excited about the 2024 prospects for the party at this point. Matt's Musings gave $5 Canadian. Says, every once in a while, I go and watch your Josh Morenstein disproves gravity vid. Classic. Yeah, that was a pretty funny one. Stephen Michael Davis said, unblock me from Twitter. I follow a ton of people I disagree with, including Dusty Smith. So the story behind that is I actually blocked all of Dusty's followers. And at the time, I was just like, for the lulz. But, it was a stupid thing. I shouldn't have done it. One of my very few mistakes. But yeah, I'll unblock you if you send me. I guess I see your thing here. I'll just go ahead and unblock your stupid ass right now. Hold on while I unblock this guy. I've unblocked everyone who's just asked. You don't have to give money to get unblocked. You can just ask to be unblocked. Why can't I find you? Hold on. Nobody came up? Motherfucker. Why can't this just be easy? No? You son of a bitch. What the fuck is this? Come on. It's acting like it can't find your fucking Twitter. All right, finally I found it and unblocked you. You're good. Okay. Done. What are your thoughts on the new upcoming feminist movie, Bit? Have you seen the trailer? No, I have not seen the trailer. I don't know. Maybe we could take a look. Bit. Let's take a look at the Bit trailer. Is this it? Oh, this is behind the scenes.
You know those teen vampire movies that feel like the horny soap opera fever dreams of an 8th grade diary? Here's how mine began.
The graduating class
I'm not super familiar with the genre she's describing, by the way.
of Central Oregon High.
Be safe.
Oh my God, guys, I'm gonna be fine. My first night in LA, and it's already the best night in LA.
Hi. We're going to after hours party if you want to come.
That's enough.
So I'm going to go ahead and say it looks stupid, but, I don't really think it's aimed towards me. So, whatever. I mean, I don't have anything against it from what I'm seeing here, but I would just say it looks dumb, and I'm kind of tired of these teen vampire movies. I feel like Twilight kind of killed that for like a decade or two. I'm not ready again to forgive the genre. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. I live in the UK where, unlike in the US, we have no written constitution. Do you think it's worth it? I thought you guys don't have a constitution? I thought you did. And that was from, who the fuck was that from? I don't know. William Blake gave $6.66. He says, hey, TJ, love your content. Have you ever seen the 1995 movie Dead Man with Johnny Depp? If not, give it a shot if you're in the mood for a trippy Western with an amazing soundtrack. I tried to watch that. I thought it was kind of dull, but whatever. I'm not, I'm a little more patient with movies now than I used to be. I used to be kind of like really antsy if a movie went too slow, and I feel like that one went a little too slow, but maybe I can get through it now. By the way, that guy that asked the UK question was Willem Harrison Baraclow, who gave 10 pounds. And I don't know that, I didn't know you guys didn't have a constitution. You probably should. So get on that, Willem. Go write a constitution up. Let them know. G-Virus 00 gave $4.99, says, just giving you a $5 because you deserve it. Thank you. The Big Red Bear gave $10 Canadian, says, I don't know. Biden's not going to give you M4A. He's not going to do a jobs program. He's clearly going to be controlled by elements behind the throne even more than Trump. He won't need your vote. But Trump's not going to do M4A. Trump's not going to do a jobs program. Trump's already controlled by elements behind the throne. So the real question is, I think Biden will need my vote because he's going to want to win. And if he runs for re-election or his vice president does, they're going to need to win. So I think he's a little bit more likely to capitulate. Now, I don't think that he's super likely to capitulate, but, like everything you're describing about Biden is already true under Trump. But Biden's a little bit better on climate change stuff. He'd probably get us back in the Paris Climate Accords anyway, even though those are like less than a half measure. But it's better than nothing, I guess. He definitely appoint better Supreme Court justices that are more likely to preserve a woman's right to choose and so on and so forth. So I think there's a few reasons that Biden's marginally, slimly better, at least policy-wise. Barrett Privateer gave $2 Canadian, didn't say shit. Thank you very much. Fallout Effects 96 gave $2, says, how did Scotty get his deviated septum? Love you, DFF. Thank you. I don't know how he was born with it. You don't get it. You're born with it. Oni Lord Miki gave $5, says, how would you say Seven Samurai compares to the Magnificent Seven? Look, I'm a huge fan of Westerns, but you can't beat Akira Kurosawa. You're not going to surpass the master, all right? Sean W. gave $5. It says, we can't allow a Bloody Monday to happen again. Lefties must have a red wedding by making sure establishment Dems lose across the board. Root and Dem. I mean, if establishment Dems lose across the board, then establishment Republicans win across the board. And I'm struggling to see how that's better. That seems like it's worse. Neckbeard Level 5000 gave $5, says, example of a right-wing talking point you snuck in your 2016 videos if you're still critical of feminism. I went, I got some of those, the black crime statistics kind of shit. I said that stuff. And those are true statistics, but I didn't really provide the proper context. I mean, I did in a broader term on my channel talk about the underlying factors, but a few times I mentioned them in a video without necessarily going into some of the underlying factors that exist, which is kind of a dishonest way to present that because that leads people to certain conclusions that you probably don't want them to go to. So that was a kind of example of like a dishonest use of a talking point on my part. That was just kind of to virtue signal to the right wing and be like, yeah, I agree with you guys on some things. Hey, TJ, keep doing what you're doing. Make it legal, Florida. That's from Cynical Phil, who gave $6.66. And that concludes our little powwow here. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching the show. I hope that you got something out of it. I hope you enjoyed the little rant. I hope you enjoyed the little back and forth with the super chatters and the STREAMLABers and all that stuff. And I hope that all you people out there who didn't give to STREAMLABS or Super Chat still felt like you had a fun time and enjoyed the show. And I will see you guys again next week with another one of these streams. And if you want to catch me before that, I'll also be putting out some clips that I cut from my episode of Ban and Hope that I shot for patrons a few days back. And you can always, of course, catch me on my podcast, Deep Fat Fried. I think that's linked down below, but if it's not, it's just a YouTube search away. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate your support and love, and I love and support you all as well. So I'm going to tell you all, stay safe, stay sane, and if you get up to anything freaky, just make sure it's consensual. Peace the fuck out. Yeah, boy.